The start of a new year means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For some, it's a time to look back and reflect on the year that we've had, what we've done, what we've seen, what we were lucky enough to get for Christmas. For others, it's a time to look ahead to the future. What's coming? What happened last year that can propel us to be excited about the new year? I'm Eric, welcome to Youtini, and today we are looking at the 7 most exciting Star Wars projects of the new year. We're almost a month into 2024, and our resolution is to tell you why these are going to blow your mind. "2023 was a wonderful year for Star Wars projects. We got The Mandalorian Season 3, possibly the wackiest live-action season of television we've gotten in Star Wars. I mean, there were some epic moments for sure, but remember when Lizzo and Jack Black showed up for a couple minutes? We had Ahsoka Season 1, finally getting Ahsoka Tano in live action after a decade in animation and a Mando cameo, but she got the story that she desperately needed, and freaking Thrawn was on our televisions. Remember when Thrawn, that character from the 90s, appeared on TV? It was spectacular. We also had the Bad Batch Season 2, Star Wars Visions Season 2, the Jedi Survivor video game, the High Republic Phase 2, and so much more. Needless to say, it was a pretty great time to be a Star Wars fan, but it still felt like a lot of those projects were looking ahead toward the future. I mean, think back to Celebration at the start of the year. There were more announcements than we could have ever dreamed of. And sure, some of them came out in 2023, but most of them were focused on the future of what Star Wars was going to bring us in the coming years. Mainly that we were getting 3 new Star Wars movies, set in 3 different time periods. I mean, I still remember the feeling of seeing Daisy Ridley walk on stage and realizing that Rey's story isn't over, that we're gonna get a new Star Wars movie in theaters again soon after, what, 4 or 5 years? And then we got Dave Filoni, who's gonna make a Mandoverse movie, maybe? We got James Mangold doing Dawn of the Jedi, and you know what? That's a different video. Today, it looks like we have plenty of bags, and we have plenty of projects coming out in 2024, so let's jump in and start with Number 1, The Acolyte. When The Acolyte was first revealed back on that fated Disney Investor Day in 2020, I'll be honest, I had zero idea what to think. All I knew was that it took place in the High Republic, which we didn't really know about yet, and it was going to be something dark and cool. And don't get me wrong, I think I've been waiting for a dark, cool show about Star Wars since I read the Darth Bane trilogy, but I wasn't really sure this was going to be the one for me, and then I read the High Republic. You know, without hyperbole, this completely changed the way I think about Star Wars. There were new characters, new lore, new planets, new weapons, new everything, and now you're telling me there was going to be a live-action show in this time period? Yes. Yes, please. And my excitement just kept growing when we got those cast announcements. I mean, we got Amandla Stenberg from The Hunger Games. We got Lee Jung-jae from Squid Game. We got Manny Jacinto from The Good Place. Bortles! Anyway, as much as I love Star Wars animation, there's just something about live action that makes Star Wars feel more legitimate in a way. You know, it's where we first met Luke and Leia and Han and Vader, and now we're gonna see Vernestra Rowe in that same medium. It just feels surreal. I can't wait. It's coming this year, but that brings us to Project 2, The Skeleton Crew. Ta-da! We have known about the existence of Skeleton Crew for a relatively short amount of time. You know, back in May 2022, back in Celebration, we got this reveal that there was a show coming out, and we didn't know much about it. We knew the name, we knew they were the creators of Spider-Man, and we had this picture of Jude Law. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Jude Law. I watch The Holiday every year. I'm a red-blooded American, who doesn't? But we didn't exactly know what to do with young Dumbledore here. And honestly, we don't know that much about it now, even though we're in the year of its release. Yes, we know it's a show with a bunch of young actors and the impeccably handsome Jude Law. They're going to be exploring the galaxy around the time as Mando, but that's about it. And well, that's kind of exciting. I mean, think about it. Back when we first got into Star Wars, we got into it because our parents liked it, or because a friend told us about it, or you just went to the movie theater and saw Star Wars. It was all this mystery and unknowing, and then you just got to experience it live. And it was wonderful. Now, of course, we're going to get plenty of info about the show before it airs. There will be trailers, and there's going to be clips and interviews, but for right now, I'm just sitting in the idea of wonder about something I don't know about. There's creators I trust, at least one very beautiful actor, and endless possibilities ahead of us. Not a bad way to symbolize the new year, huh? Next up, The Bad Batch, Season 3. Welcome to the party, guys. I'm getting on this kick with endings lately. You know, I've been branching out of Star Wars a little bit and reading more stories that actually do this thing where they finish. Weird, right? But with the third season of The Bad Batch being reported as the last, we have an opportunity for this sense of finality. And that's been amazing in Star Wars animation. I mean, you can't sit there and tell me that The Clone Wars Season 7 and Rebels Season 4 weren't two of the best Star Wars projects of all time. Unless you're a liar who lies. But Star Wars projects also deserve to end, you know? And as proud as I am of these guys, you know, they're a spin-off show of a random arc in the 7th season of a different show. It's been pretty incredible. But I'm ready for their story to be done. And I'm ready for it to be done in the most devastating way possible that only Star Wars animation can do. Now we have one more show coming this year, and it's honestly the one that surprised me the most. It's Project number 4, Tales of the Jedi, Season 2. Dave Filoni is a very passionate person. I don't think anyone can or would dispute that. So when a very passionate guy tells you that he wants to make a specific passion project, you're probably in for something pretty special. The first season gave us these really cool short stories about Ahsoka and Dooku. And even though Ahsoka is arguably my favorite character in all of Star Wars, I really didn't expect to enjoy those as much as I really did. See, Filoni used the medium of animation in a way we hadn't really seen since the Gendy shorts back in the day. You know, they're so much more reliant on visuals and action rather than just word vomiting over the place, and I think we'll get more of the same in Season 2. You know, I don't know if it'll be the same characters, of course, but you gotta think for consistency in tone and storytelling, it's gonna be a lot of that silent stuff that I just couldn't get enough of. Now, personally, I'd love to stay in the prequels or Clone Wars era. You know, maybe get some Qui-Gon, some Plo Koon, Lord knows Dave loves him. But really, as long as the stories are expertly crafted and the characters are great, I'm pretty easy to please. Now, before we go any further, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, the fine folks at patreon.com/Youtini. 2024 is going to be a year of rebirth and regrowth for the Youtini Patreon, and I want to thank everyone that has already jumped on. If you haven't yet, go ahead, visit the link in the description, and you can find all of our exclusive content on Patreon, including exclusive shows, all the Youtini content we've ever produced, an exclusive 45-minute documentary, and weekly behind the scenes, including some footage about this very video that you're watching. Whether you're a monthly subscriber or an annual patron, which is a way better deal, we thank you and we love you. Once more, thank you so much to everyone over at patreon.com/Youtini for sponsoring this video. And now, back to it. Oh boy, this thing is gonna be massive. Wait, massive? 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 Aren't they making a giant open world Star Wars video game with Ubisoft called Star Wars Outlaws? That's right! You guessed it, everyone! Hold on. It is Project number 5, Star Wars Outlaws. For the last few years, the Star Wars video game landscape has been dominated by these guys and the Jedi series. Is that the official name? Anyway, Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor have been huge hits, largely in thanks to these two, because look at them. They're delightful. They're great. But this year, the biggest game announced since Fallen Order is releasing. and I'm having a really tough time managing my expectations on this one. I mean, it's supposed to be a mixture of Uncharted meets Red Dead Redemption 2, where you can go seamlessly from planet to space to ship. And I mean, the day it was announced, the next day we got a full 10 minutes of gameplay. Like I said, not managing my expectations. And you know what? Maybe that's okay. You know, I've managed my expectations on so many things for so many years, and now I feel like this might be the game I've waited for my entire life. Like I love Jedi, don't get me wrong, I love me some Jedi, but there's just something about being in space and being a scoundrel and getting us so excited about doing gigs in the Outer Rim, and I mean, I just want to feel it, man. I just want to be excited as I possibly can be, because this might be just my entire life for the rest of the year. That's kind of a cool thought. And this game comes at a really interesting time for me personally. Last couple years have kind of been my renaissance of play in a way, you know? I've gotten more into video games, I've built Lego for the first time, kind of just going back to all the things that really used to bring me a lot of joy, and Outlaws. Man, it just sounds like this thing I can get lost in for weeks and months and just have fun and play and explore, and man, if that doesn't sound like the best thing in the world. Right now, it looks like we don't exactly have a leg to stand on, so let's fix that, huh? Get it? It has legs. It's been a long build, guys. What do you want from me? Bag 6, The Glass Abyss by Stephen Barnes. Hey, we almost rhymed. Neat. Almost. Well, I don't know. Would have been cool to rhyme. Who knows? Now, some of you may know that we had a show and podcast for about 4 years called The Living Force. Stay tuned, by the way. And on that show, we had this recurring kind of a joke, kind of a bit about Mace Windu, our general distrust and dislike of Mace Windu. And while that was mostly a joke, I do feel like Mace hasn't really gotten his fair shake the last couple of years to be one of the most powerful Jedi in all of human history. However, this new book, it does feel like we're getting away from the citizen Mace Windu and getting back to the awesome Jedi that we knew as prequel kids. Because remember, that's what I am. I remember seeing Samuel L. Jackson with that purple lightsaber and absolutely losing my mind, and I'm very excited to get back to the heroic, awesome Mace Windu once more. And that's what it sounds like we're getting. Stephen Barnes, one of the only black writers in the history of Star Wars, is actually writing a black character, thank you. It's actually giving us the Mace Windu we wanted. He's going to be going off on a mission in honor of Qui-Gon. It's post-Phantom Menace, it's pre-Clone Wars, it's everything us prequel kids dreamed of, and hopefully, it'll also bring back some of those folks from Legends who haven't read a book since Shatterpoint. Building a foundation of trust with folks who think that Star Wars kind of ended in Legends has been tough. And even though a lot of us love both, maybe this book could be like an olive branch, you know? Like, hey, you love this guy who was on top all these years ago, has some great Legends content, come back, see him be amazing, see Mace Windu step back into the spotlight. I mean, who says no? And for lucky number 7, of course, it has to be The Living Force by John Jackson Miller. Oh, the irony. Kind of ironic that we're onto this bag that is basically going to reinforce this whole structure here. Because obviously we put on the legs, you know, we're getting near the end, but without additional reinforcement and foundation, it's all going to collapse. And not to put too fine a point on it, but that is kind of what I'm hoping from the Living Force book. Last year, there were a lot of books that I liked, sure, but there weren't quite those books that felt like they were leading up to something big that made me feel like I was part of the world, and made me fall in love with these characters and get intrigued with this story that could really build that foundation of love and passion that I have for all these books. And I feel like that's what John Jackson Miller is going to create with this. JJM, as we affectionately call him, has called this book kind of a road trip book with the entire Jedi Council pre-Phantom Menace. This is before the darkness has taken over. This is before all the war. This is just the wise masters of our youth as prequel kids that taught me how to be a person, getting back together to teach even more lessons. Doesn't sound too bad, right? And that's why I'm so genuinely excited for this book. You know, I love my action stories. I love the lightsaber wielding and blasters, and Lord knows we'll get plenty of that this year and probably in this story. But you know, I'm closer to Qui-Gon's age than Anakin's now. And maybe a few more lessons are just what I need. You know, it might just be my age talking, but I am very excited to sit at the feet of my masters one more time and hear what they have to say. Last bags. The start of a new year can mean so many different things. It's a time for new beginnings, but then again, so was last year, right? And for some folks, that didn't pan out, so maybe it doesn't feel as good to say over again. For some reason, this year feels different. You know, last year I did struggle with the idea of being all in, all excited, but this year it's kind of fun to start off by building up that foundation, brick by brick. And I'd love for you to join me. So let me know down in the comments, which of these 7 projects are you most excited for in 2024? And are you going to build your own foundation of excitement? I think it'll be a good year for it. As always, may the Force be with you.